The story of the Nephilim is an esoteric topic that many are not aware of. There are hints of their existence in the Bible and in other ancient Semitic and Ethiopian texts such as the Book of Enoch. There are also hints of them in every old mythology around the world and in art and legend. They were said to be cruel, and they incurred the wrath of an invisible sky god named Jehovah because of their behavior. What did they do? Where did they come from? Where are they now, and are they coming back? What was the physical nature of them and the physical nature of their fathers? The Nephilim were said to be an evil race of giant half-breeds made from the union of fallen angels and human women. What they did and who their fathers were will be revealed in this documentary by looking at multiple ancient books and texts and art and mythology to put the pieces of this puzzle together. From the Bible, when people began to multiply on the face of the ground, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves of all that they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in mortals forever, for they are flesh. Their days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also after. And the sons of God went on to the daughters of humans, who bore children to them. They were the heroes of old, warriors of renown. There are several versions of the Bible. Some state that the angels, the fallen angels or watchers, had gone on to human women to produce the Nephilim. Other versions of the Bible specifically state that they had intercourse with human women to produce these half-breeds. This breeding occurred during the days of Noah. The flood was a punishment to wipe out the genetic bloodlines of these evil Nephilim. There is a small amount of information given in Genesis that describes this wrath of Jehovah. Here are some of the passages. The Lord saw that the wickedness of humans was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually. Genesis 6:5. But Noah found favor in the sight of the Lord. Genesis 6:8. Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters came on the earth. Genesis 7:6. For the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay everyone for what has been done. Matthew 16:27. When he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when will this be, and what will be the sign of your coming and at the end of the age? Matthew 24:3. For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24:7. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see that the Son of Man is coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Matthew 24:30. For as the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24:37. Just as it was in the days of Noah, so also will it be in the days of the Son of Man. Luke 17:26. We can find out quite a bit about who these Nephilim and fallen angels or watchers were in the Ethiopian book of Enoch and out of the Loeb Library that originated out of Harvard. Let's start with the book of Enoch, the Ethiopian version. There are 3 versions of the book of Enoch. The book of Enoch that came out of Ethiopia has quite a bit more information, in my opinion, about who these Nephilim were and who the watchers or fallen angels were. Let's start by reading what they did. In those days when the children of man had multiplied, it happened that there were born unto them handsome and beautiful daughters, and the angels, the children of heaven, saw them and desired them, and they said to one another, Come, let us choose wives for ourselves from among the daughters of man, and beget us children. And Semyaz, being their leader, said unto them, I fear that perhaps you will not consent that this deed should be done, and I alone will become responsible for this great sin. But they all responded to him, Let us all swear an oath, and bind every one among us by a curse, not to abandon the suggestion, but to do the deed. Then they all swore together and bound one another by the curse. And they were all together 200. And they descended into Ardos, which is the summit of Hermon, and they called the mount Armon, for they swore and bound one another by a curse. And their names are as follows: Samyaz, the leader of Arakeb, Ramael, Tam-el, Ram-el, Dan-el, Ezequel, Baraquel, Az-el, Armoros, Batar-el, Anan-el, Zaquel, Sasomasbuel, Kestar-el, Tur-el, Yamayol, and Arazel. These are the chiefs of tens, and all the others with them. But there is more in the book of Enoch that we must take a look at. It states, And they took wives unto themselves, and everyone respectively chose one woman for himself. And they began to go on to them, and they taught them magical medicine, incantations, the cutting of roots, and taught them about plants. And the women became pregnant and gave birth to great giants, whose heights were 300 cubits. These giants consumed the produce of all the people until the people detested feeding them. So the giants turned against the people in order to eat them. And they began to sin against birds, wild beasts, reptiles, and fish, and their flesh was devoured, the one by the other, and they drank blood. And then the earth brought an accusation against the oppressors. And Azazel taught the people the art of making swords and knives and shields and breastplates. And he showed to their chosen ones bracelets, decorations, shadowing of the eyes with antimony, ornamentation, the beautifying of the eyelids, all kinds of precious stones, and all coloring tinctures and alchemy. And there were many wicked ones, and they committed adultery and erred, and all their conduct became corrupt. And Masras taught incantation and the cutting of roots, and Armoros the resolving of incantations, and Baraquil astrology, and Kokar-el the knowledge of signs, and Tame-el taught the seeing of the stars, And Azrael taught the course of the moon as well as the deception of man. And the people cried, and their voice reached unto heaven. Then Michael, Seraphel, and Gabriel observed carefully from the sky, and they saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all the oppression being wrought upon the earth. And they said to one another, The earth from her empty foundation has brought a cry of their voice unto the gates of heaven. And now, O holy ones of heaven, the souls of people are putting their case before you, pleading, Bring out judgment before the Most High. And they said to the Lord of the potentates, For he is the Lord of lords, and the God of gods, and the King of kings, and the seat of his glory stands throughout all the generations of the world. Your name is holy and blessed and glorious throughout the whole world. You have made everything, and with you is the authority for everything. Everything is naked and open before your sight, and you see everything, and there is nothing which can hide itself from you. You see what Azazel has done, how he has taught all forms of oppression upon the earth. And they revealed eternal secrets, which are performed in heaven, and which man learn. Moreover, Samyaz, to whom you have given power to rule over his companions, cooperating, they went in unto the daughters of the people on earth, and they laid together with them, with those women, and defiled themselves, and revealed to them every kind of sin. As for the women, they gave birth to giants, to the degree that the whole earth was filled with blood and oppression. And now, behold, the Holy One will cry, and those who have died will bring their suit up to the gate of heaven. Their groaning has ascended into heaven, and they could not get out from before the face of the oppression that is being wrought on the earth. And you know everything, even before it came to existence. And you see the thing, but you do not tell us what is proper for us, that we may do regarding it. And then spoke the Most High, the Great and Holy One, and he sent Azrael to the son of Lamech, saying, Tell him in my name, hide yourself, and reveal to them the end of what is coming, for the earth and everything will be destroyed. And the deluge is about to come upon all the earth, and all that is in it will be destroyed. And now instruct him in order that he may flee, and his seed will be preserved for all generations. And secondly, the Lord said to Raphael, Bind Azazel hand and foot, and throw him into the darkness. And he made a hole in the desert which was in Dudael, and cast him there. He threw on top of him rugged and sharp rocks, and he covered his face in order that he may not see light, and in order that he may be sent into the fire on the great day of judgment, and give life to the earth, which the angels have corrupted, and he will proclaim life for the earth, and that he is giving life to her. And all the children of the people will not perish through the secrets of the angels, which they taught to their sons. And the whole earth has been corrupted by Azazel teaching of his own actions, and write upon him all sin. And to Gabriel the Lord said, Proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, and against the children of adultery, and destroy the children of adultery, and expel the children of the watchers from among the people, and send them against one another, so that they may be destroyed in the fight. For length of days have they not. They will beg you everything for their fathers on behalf of themselves, because they hope to live an eternal life. They hope that each one of them will live a period of 500 years. And to Michael, God said, Make known to Samyaza and the others who are with him, who fornicated with women, that they will die together with them in their defilement. Now, it's interesting that 300 cubits is allegedly 450 feet. I don't believe that these giants were that tall. But I do believe from research based on skeletons that were found in ancient mounds that these giants were anywhere from 8 to 12 feet tall. And I do believe that their fallen angel watcher fathers were Caucasoid and just as tall, and that they came from the lost Atlantean Empire. To prove this out, I'm going to read some more passages from Enoch, and then I'm going to show you that the fallen angel Barakwel, who taught astrology, is the equivalent to the Greek Iapetus. Iapetus was a Titan and the brother of Cronus. Those of you who are familiar with my Hidden Human Story books and research know that I've already proven out that the Abrahamic God, Yahweh, is Cronus, and the Abrahamic God, Jehovah, is Zeus. And I will go through that proof in this documentary to reiterate. So let's take a look at more of this book of Enoch. What we're going to find out is that the giants who came from the fallen angels were put inside the earth. The fallen angels and other angels were frightening to Enoch, but he described them as snow white. They had an intricate knowledge of the heavenly bodies and shared some of that knowledge with Enoch. They took Enoch up with them in a wind vehicle. Now that sounds very reminiscent of UFOs or spaceship or flying craft. This is not the first time that flying craft are discussed in ancient texts. We have flying chariots in all of the ancient Greek and Roman mythology. We have Vimanas in Hinduism. We have flying chariots in Nordic mythology as well. So let's read a few more passages from the book of Enoch. But now the giants who are born from the union of spirits and the flesh shall be called evil spirits upon the earth, because their dwelling shall be upon the earth and inside the earth. And they lifted me up into one place where there were the ones like the flaming fire, and when they so desire, they appear like men. And they took me into a place of whirlwind in the mountain. The top of its summit was reaching into heaven. And Uriel said to me, here shall stand in many different appearances the spirits of the angels, which have united themselves with women. They have defiled the people and will lead them in error, that they will offer sacrifices to the demons as unto gods, until the great day of judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are finished. And their women, whom the angels have led astray, will be peaceful ones. So I, Enoch, I saw the vision of the end of everything alone, and none among human beings will see as I have seen. And I saw the sons of the holy angels walking upon the flame of fire. Their garments were white, and their overcoats, and the light of their faces was like snow. And I saw countless angels, 100,000 times 100,000, 10,000,000 times 10,000,000 encircling that house. Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Phanuel, and numerous other holy angels that are in heaven above go in and out of the house. Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Phanuel, and numerous other holy angels that are countless. With them is the antecedent of time. His head is white and pure like wool, and his garment is indescribable. I fell on my face, my whole body mollified, and my spirit transformed. Now let's look at this passage about Noah. He is compared to the angels because he is as white as snow and has some red or rosiness in his skin color, and his hair is white. And after some days, my son Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, and she became pregnant by him and bore him a son. And his body was white as snow and red as a rose, the hair of his head as white as wool, and his diadema beautiful. And as for his eyes, when he opened them, the whole house glowed like the sun. Rather, the whole house glowed even more exceedingly. And when he arose from the hands of the midwife, he opened his mouth and spoke to the Lord with righteousness. And his father Lamech was afraid of him and fled and went to Methuselah his father, and he said to him, I have begotten a strange son. He is not like an ordinary human being, but he looks like children of the angels of heaven to me. His form is different, and he is not like us. His eyes are like the rays of the sun, and his face glorious. It does not seem to me that he is of me, but the angels, and I fear that a wondrous phenomenon may take place upon the earth in his days. Now I'm going to read a passage from the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's the Vision of Amram. In my vision, the vision of the dream, and there were two figures arguing over me and saying, and holding a great dispute over me. So I asked them, How is it that you have authority over me? They said, We rule and have authority over the human race. And they said to me, Which one of us? I lifted my eyes and saw one of them, whose appearance was dreadfully frightening. His clothing was multicolored and very dark. And I saw another, and he was pleasant in his appearance, and his face was laughing, and he was covered in white. That was the vision of Amram. And Amram is the father of Moses. Now it's interesting because I have seen other translations in which the frightening entity or person over this Amram character was described as a serpent. So we are not quite sure what their true appearance is. I do want to point out that all humans have some hue to their skin color. Even if you're a white person, you do have a tan color. Even a very, very pale white person has some color to it. It is interesting to note that the royalty of Europe at one point wore a white paint or makeup to make themselves look snow white. It was called Venetian cerus, or spirits of Saturn. Here is a picture of Elizabeth I of England, who was wearing Venetian cerus at the time. Now, this makeup contained lead, and it caused lead poisoning, so they stopped wearing it eventually. Here's another picture of Elizabeth I called the Rainbow Portrait. And if you look on her sleeve, on her left arm, there's a serpent. I'm pointing this out because the serpent imagery goes hand in hand with all of these angels, fallen or not. It goes hand in hand with many of the gods and goddesses of old around the world. It's associated with the wise Nagas of Hinduism lore. It's associated with the angel who deceived Eve. And I'm going to give you that angel's name who deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden in a moment.